Hello, everyone, and welcome to GW Prime Live. As we know, the global Earth observation market is estimated to be multi-billion dollars, and by the next decade, it will further register a threefold growth. Today, Earth observation is used in a wide variety of applications, from change detection to surveillance to monitoring everything, be it supply chain disruptions or any infrastructure that is in need of upgrade or modernization. So these wide variety of applications are further going to enhance with technological advancements. And as we see in this era of booming new space economy, Earth observation along with telecommunications is one of the most salient and biggest use cases. To discuss Earth observation market and satellite solutions in detail, we extend a warm welcome to Ater Moringo Munoz, who is the CEO of Satlantis USA. A very warm welcome to you, Ater.
Thank you very much. Good morning, and thanks for having me here.
That's a pleasure. So, how are you doing?
Doing good, doing good. It's 8:30 in the morning here in the East Coast. So yeah, currently drinking my coffee, my morning coffee.
That's nice. So, Ater, we'll start with, as we know, Earth observation, like since the days of Landsat to today, a lot of advancements have taken place in satellites as well as in imagery. And very high resolution as well as ultra high resolution imagery is now available. So, what do you think are the key trends in the Earth observation marketplace today?
So I think if we go back to 10 years ago or 15 years ago, you'll have all these large satellite systems. I'm talking about Landsat 8, or in Europe we have the Copernicus mission, right? The Sentinel. So those were producing, or are still producing, very useful imagery, but not so high resolution, right? So everything changed with SpaceX, with the rideshare program that they put together, and the possibility of startups and small companies producing their own satellite systems and launching those systems into orbit at a very low cost. So that opened the door for all these sectors and industries to be benefited by space and by Earth observation. And then at that stage, the sector was disrupted, and the new trend or the new race was to produce very high resolution. The higher resolution, the better. So I recall when I joined Satlantis, it's been 6 years now. That there was a huge pursuit of high resolution imagery. So every single company out there was trying to produce the highest resolution imagery ever known. And I recall the first days of Planet, Black Sky, SatLogic, you name it, all these companies that went public 2-3 years ago and were producing very high resolution pictures. But the problem with that, and just looking backwards now, was that even if you had the technology, the application of the final the end customer was still not there, right? The space was pretty new for most of the industries that just discovered that they could use satellite imagery to try to solve the problems. So the offer side was there, producing very high resolution pictures, but the demand was not catching up. That was kind of the mismatch between both sides, right? Now we are in a place that we are still producing very high resolution pictures, and you have new trends. You have the hyperspectral imagery, the multispectral. I think it's starting to be productive for most of the industries and most of the applications. We just learned that some applications were not finally in need of very high resolution pictures. Drones or aircraft were more than enough to solve all those issues. Some others others are still waiting for satellites. So now you have a new trend, hyperspectral imagery. LiDAR is kind of the new thing. The thermal infrared, the long wave infrared, new bands. I can see, some companies betting on the very low Earth orbit to produce even higher resolution. I was in a conference last month talking to Albedo and how they are trying to put all those satellites at a very low Earth orbit to produce very high resolution imagery. So I think even if we are more advanced now, and we know that some industries are in search of high resolution pictures, there's still, we have still a long haul ahead of us, and I think all these new trends will still need to be consolidated, and we have a very long run to try to discover which of all those applications on the laundry list that all these companies were putting together 10 years ago are actually productive, and being benefited by space imagery or Earth observation.
That's very well said. And as you rightly mentioned about the reduced entry barriers due to SpaceX being the primary catalyst of lower launch cost, which has enabled this revolution, this new space revolution of microsatellites, nanosatellites, and what was earlier a state turf has now become a level playing field where a lot of companies, a lot of organizations, a lot of anyone who wants to aspire to send a satellite is able to do so. But right now, as you mentioned, there exists this gap, this mismatch between demand and what we are catering to. And the matchmaking is essential between the industries that require the highest resolution Earth imagery and data. So, what are those sectors? Like, if you could name 3 sectors, in your opinion, which are in dire need or which would witness a rapid turnaround if they are able to access very high resolution imagery?
Well, the first industry is always defense and intelligence, right? I would say that's always the first one that comes to my mind when I think about very high resolution imagery and accessing high resolution imagery. One of the first applications that I can think about is always defense and intelligence. That's always the case. It has been the case for the last decades, and that's not going to change. Actually, the innovator's dilemma, every space company is facing is actually, do I produce very innovative solutions or technologies for the defense industry, or do I do the same for the commercial applications, even if it's way harder and the money pockets are not that deep in the commercial side? I would say it's the right thing to do, right? We should try to put those technologies, apart from defense intelligence and all these sectors, the commercial applications are still in need of very high resolution pictures. So the second industry they can think about is what we are trying to do at Satlantis, right? Is the oil and gas industry, heavy industry, to track their GHG emissions to the atmosphere. That's the second industry that I can see has a lot of potential. The regulation is unrolling now from at least here in the States, from the EPA and the SEC and some other agencies. We need more innovation to combat the climate change, and I can see space being a key piece in the puzzle for these specific applications. So oil and gas, we particularly specialized in pipeline monitoring and oil and gas facilities, and track the emissions along a pipeline is a very challenging thing, but with the right technology, it's not so challenging. The third industry that I can see has a lot of potential is agriculture. I think agriculture is the third one in my list, and that's because it's so important for humankind. It's so important for the economy, for every single economy. The agriculture is going to be there, right? So new ways of crop health monitoring, plant disease control, new ways of protecting crops from bad weather conditions. All of that is going to be super important in the future. It's been important now, but it's gonna go upwards in the future. So I can see satellite technology being super helpful in that field as well.
You mentioned Clayton Christensen's innovator's dilemma. So that basically is an existential question, not just before the EO industry, but a lot of other industries. Like,
Absolutely.
Exactly. Are we doing things better? Are we doing new things? Or are we just stuck in the same rut? So that calls for a lot of introspection and a lot of like the need to reinvent again and again. And as you mentioned about the oil industry, so recently I was reading something about this oil and gas consortium that CH4 or methane emissions are responsible for most of the global warming. And the oil industry, the energy sector, is a major culprit due to these leaky pipelines. And now this consortium that has come together, that with the help of satellite data and imagery, we can pinpoint the hotspots, the emission hotspots.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how crucial, Atter, do you think would satellite data be in curtailing greenhouse emissions and advancing sustainability?
Yeah, so in our experience, especially methane, right? Methane is getting a lot of attention now because it's up to 82 times as pollutant as the CO2, for example. So and it remains in the atmosphere way longer. So we at Satlantis we are focusing on methane because we understand how potentially dangerous methane is compared to other GHGs. And not to say that the rest of the GHGs are not there, are not dangerous, but methane is definitely the new thing, right? And the first that we need to curve down. So if you think about how the industry works, they put together a lot of facilities, a lot of pipelines to transport the gas from one side to the other, right? From the producing side to the consuming side. And that's being developed globally. So this is a global problem. And you'll see all these facilities running across the globe. And they are in hands of a very few companies. If we think about the major operators, right? The Exxons, the Oxys, the ConocoPhillipses, and all these actors and all these players. So they up to this point they were using, so far they were using drone imagery, very high resolution drone imagery, 5 centimeters, 10 centimeters, whatever that is, right? Aircraft flyovers, that could be as accurate as 10, 15 centimeters as well. They were using ground sensors, but the problem with ground sensors is that you need to place a camera right next to the pipeline, right next to every single stage of the pipeline that is subject to leak to the atmosphere. So that comes with a huge burden of cost for the operator, and you need to be continuously monitoring those emissions. So with the satellite technology being higher and higher resolution and higher revisitation rate, is the perfect tool for any oil and gas company in the world to monitor not only their emissions at the local side, but also globally. If you think about the super major operators, they have facilities in the whole globe. A satellite will be monitoring the globe every single day. So it's the perfect, balance between accuracy and revisitation that one of these companies needs to continue, reducing the emissions to the atmosphere. And it's great to, in our case, to have the possibility of incorporating different filters and different wavelengths, because the methane will be emitting in the shortwave infrared, but you want to have an updated visual layer of that facility as well. You cannot, the way we see it, you cannot effectively overlap the methane plume to to a visible picture if that picture is not updated, right? It might be a case that you have the emission, but you don't have the facility because you are relying on third parties' outdated catalog. So the fact of retrieving information in both channels, in both layers at the same time, that's a huge advantage for the industry. And the way the technology is evolving, I can see the satellite being increasingly important in any oil and gas industry major toolkit to reduce emissions. Now methane, but it's going to be CO2 and other gases in the short term future.
So, in the nutshell, we can say that satellite imagery is promoting transparency, it's fostering accountability, and it is enabling a culture of data-based, actionable insights and decision making. But what is needed is a collaborative approach, and concerted action. Like satellite imagery can only take you this far. To go miles ahead, you still need collaboration and all of these political actors and everyone coming on board and agreeing that yes, we need to do this. So, any thoughts on this, Aitor? Like,
Yeah, absolutely. And you touch on a very important point, Adi, because satellite, there's no, as we like to say, there's no silver bullet to methane emissions, but that can be applied to every single application in the satellite industry, right? This satellite is just another tool. It's not the ultimate tool that you need to solve your problems. So you still need a very good data combination and data merge with other sensors. You'll still need the drones, you'll still need the flyovers and the ground sensors. The potential that the satellites are bringing to the table is not replacing other technologies. It's complementing those technologies to be even more accurate, to have further information, to have the big picture that provides you a first screening mechanism, and then you can zoom in, whatever area you are interested in, to using drones or using any other technology. It is true that the satellite technology will be even higher resolution in the future, but I don't see the satellites taking over other technologies, specifically in the methane detection field, in the short to mid term future. I don't see that happening, because it's what you mentioned before, because you still need other data sources to play with and to combine with satellite technology, and to build a comprehensive database. So that's still necessary, and it's gonna play a huge role in the future. I lost your audio. Sorry, I cannot hear you anymore.
oh, okay, let me check.
Right. Yeah, right. Now it's working.
Okay.
I don't know what happened there.
I see. So I was saying basically satellite imagery alone will only take us halfway, but it's the task of other sensors and decision making and whale and data fusion to basically complete the loop. So from this, I'll now ask a technology related question that we see these days a lot of new business paradigms, new models that are emerging, like software as a service, platform as a service, insights as a service. So which of these business models do you think would be more feasible for the EO industry, say 5 years down the line?
That's a tough question, but I would say so far we are used to just purchasing data, but purchasing data, it's been either very expensive or a very painful process to go through. So, you know, I can see, and we were mentioning before how easy is launching satellite nowadays. It's getting more and more, it's getting easier and it's getting cheaper. So space is more affordable now than it was 10 years ago, and that's going to continue. I mean, I can see Starship, for example, playing a very important role in achieving so. So the way I see the future, I think tasking preferences on satellite capacity is kind of the way we're going. I don't think data selling or data purchasing is going to be like the next big thing, uh, unless the data purchasing process improves a lot. But as space is more affordable and it's going to continue being so, I can see companies either buying their own systems, which is now more possible than ever, or buying a piece of satellite, so the capacity of the satellite applied to their specific locations. If you think about a global company like the ones we were describing before in the oil and gas industry, they might be interested in having their own system, the same way you have your own Cessna aircrafts, or the same way you have your own drone fleet. You'll be able to have your own satellites in place. So, and that satellite will be orbiting the globe and retrieving very high resolution information of your facilities worldwide. So that's a possibility. And the other possibility is, if you are not large enough and you don't want to spend that much money, you can always buy a piece of that capacity. You can always buy tasking rights to one or several satellites every time they fly over your assets. If you are operating in the Permian Basin, just imagine accessing a database of that Permian Basin and a satellite focusing just on your assets, on your facilities. That's something that is now that is now true. It's something that we are pursuing at Satlantis. That's what we are offering our customers, is the tasking rights to our satellites. And that, I think that's a very interesting, a very beneficial model.
As you mentioned about these new rights and the new testing that you're offering, so I recall something very interesting that was often said in mid 2000s, that every company would soon be an IT company. Then, with the gold rush of data and big data, it morphed into every company will be a data company. So now, are we reaching that stage that we can confidently say that every company would be a geospatial and space company, say after 20 years?
Yeah, I think that's true in a way, right? If we assume the hypothesis that every company is going to be a data company in the future, or it's actually starting to being a data company, satellite data is just another layer. So, and as satellite data is way more affordable now, yeah, I can see every single company using satellite data in the future. Of course, some applications uh you know will still be okay with other sources of information, but satellite, as the satellite data becomes more affordable and high resolution and more accurate, yeah, I think that's a true potential and something very real.
In the past, some of the main trends that have spurred the progress in new space as well as Earth observation domain have been miniaturization, hyperfast data transfer, and cloud. But now we see more and more the move towards onboard processing, towards artificial intelligence. So, what do you think would be the impact of AI on Earth observation?
That's another curveball out there, because it's AI is the new thing, right? So every single company is an AI company now. We ourselves are using AI for some applications, and for enhancing some of our processes. I think we still need to consolidate the AI, both applications and industry, before figuring that out. I don't know. I know AI is going to be huge. I know AI is going to help solving lots of problems, but I also know that this has been true for other industries and other innovation trends in the past. If you think about the automobile industry or the telecommunications industry, the dot-com bubble, I think everyone is saying this, right? Same thing I'm saying now, but it's true. I can see thousands of AI based technologies and thousands of AI companies. I still don't know which one is going to win, and which applications are going to be net beneficiaries of AI technology. I think satellite industry is going to be impacted by AI in a good sense. We'll be able to improve all those data processing pipelines using AI. For example, we are using AI for cloud detection. We are using AI for methane retrieval enhancement. We are using AI for very specific niche applications. I don't see AI taking over everything, but I can definitely see AI being like a very useful technology for most of the satellite companies out there in 3-5 years.
So, it has a lot of game changing potential if leveraged properly.
Absolutely, yeah. That's we need to understand it better first. I think we are now in a stage in which we are trying to figure that out, understand how AI can be applied to all of the problems that we have ahead of us. Some of those will probably make sense. Some others won't be a case. But we are still learning. We are, fortunately enough, we are learning very fast. So innovation, it's going now faster than ever. But we still have a long run ahead of us. This is going to take some time still.
Like this exponential leap in innovation and the linear pace by which we perceive things. So we'll have to move rather fast to outpace this, or we'll
Exactly.
be overrun by it. So coming to this, when we talk about AI, as you mentioned, so what happens is that these new technologies, while they revamp the old systems, they bring in new processes. They also bring in unique and newer set of challenges, and that often lead to a catch-22 scenario, which is a big concern for companies, that they either need to reinvent, they need to re-strategize, refocus, or they just lose their relevance. So do you think right now we are at a juncture that companies either need to embrace AI or they risk getting obsolete?
Yeah, I think this is like the boiling frog problem, right? If you don't realize you are being disrupted, by the time you realize, so it might be too late. So yeah, definitely either you embrace AI and change, and you find out how to use AI to solve your own problems and continue improving, or you might be disrupted by AI. That's kind of the where we are right now. Fortunately, I can see most of the companies I know, using AI for for their inner tools and inner processes. So that's a good way of approaching the problem. I still don't know one single company that is not using AI internally. So it might be a case, but I'm not familiar with those companies still. So I think the industry, the space industry and Earth observation industry especially, have embraced AI in a good way, and they are using, most companies are using AI just to improve their processes and make sense of the data they already have. Some companies, you were mentioning before that data is power, and some companies have retrieved more data than others, because they have more satellites, they have been in business longer. So now with AI systems, that's is the data leverage, right? So I don't know, that might be another way of looking at it, right? If you have enough data, you are better positioned that other company that might not have data to train their models and to make sense of their neural networks. So yeah, it's a very convoluted scenario, I would say. Difficult to answer.
It's a very complex system, but the first mover advantage retains, and with it, the ability, like as they say, some are more equal than others. So that first mover advantage has certainly accelerated, we can say.
That might be an advantage, right? If you have been longer in the business and you have more data to train your models with, that might give you an advantage for the coming 3-5 years, over all those companies that are just getting started. On the flip side, if you're a new company and you don't have, you haven't spent that capex in building a constellation, you might be financially stronger or better positions. So I don't know. We'll see what's the driving factor. I I like thinking that, as Atlantis, we are playing our cards regarding AI, wisely, and we are using AI for, to provide a better service to our customers. The applications I mentioned before are just a few, but you are, as we are training our models, or as we are, in conversations with more and more customers, we are coming up with new solutions. Some of them might be solved using AI, some others is just another thing. But it's just a matter of surfing the AI wave and not being consumed by it.
That's a very quotable line, I would say. Ride AI, not get ridden by it.
Exactly.
So, as we discussed climate change, we discussed methane emissions. So, sustainability of Earth, sustainability of the terra firma we live in, everyone talks about it. But what needs equal attention is space sustainability, because with reduced launch cost, with more options, with increasing payload capacity, the lower Earth orbit is getting crowded, and there are a lot of chances of collisions of orbital debris. So, what do you think needs to be done to achieve a consensus on that? And so that a lot of companies as well as citizens, everyone is aware about how critical an issue space sustainability is.
So, one of the good things about capitalism is that every time you have a problem, the new companies and new entrepreneurs take that problem and try to solve it with the new technology they have in hand, and that's been the case for space debris removal and space situational awareness. When I started researching the market 5 years ago, there were not many companies. There were not so many companies doing the space removal and debris removal. Right now, you have dozens, literally dozens of companies dedicated to that specific problem. Not all of them will make it through, unfortunately, but some of them will thrive and will be able to solve that issue. I think the challenging issue for all these companies now is that money is no longer flowing to the industry as it was 4 or 5 years ago, because money is no longer free, right? When you have free money, every single entrepreneurial challenge or every single journey is something profitable because money is free. Now money is no longer free, so the case is harder to solve financially. But lucky enough, we still have institutions funding or giving funds to solve this issue. So I'm thinking about the space agencies. I'm thinking about some federal agencies here in the U.S. They always have money for new challenges and new problems. So I think all these companies will need to rely heavily on these funds being unlocked for this specific, or being allocated for this specific problem. And I think it's been the case, right? But I was just thinking about this a couple of days ago, and it's way harder to finance a complex problem nowadays than it was 4 or 5 years ago. So it's going to be a challenging thing from the financial perspective. From the technology perspective, I think we already have some of the tools that we need, and all these companies are currently emerging to address this issue. So I think it's very beneficial for the industry just going to all these, attending these conferences and talking to entrepreneurs and to companies that explain to you how they are approaching the SSA or the space debris removal problem with their specific technology. Let's see what happens in the future, but I think we are very well positioned from the technology perspective, as I can see in all these events.
You mentioned a very important and a very dynamic aspect of capitalism, of prioritizing technological change. And as the MIT economist Robert M. Solow, he basically showed that American growth and economic growth, it not just hinges on labor and capital, as was previously presupposed, but technology and innovation, which
Absolutely.
is a big locomotive of growth. So do you think now that space is a big arena of growth, we need maybe a new stakeholder capitalism oriented towards space, and dedicated venture capitalists and investment funds, hedge funds for space sector only?
I think that's already happening. I know some VCs and some private equity firms that their mandate is specifically and solely space. So that's already happening. And as long as we became a profitable industry, and all these smart money realizes that we'll have increasing funds available for all these entrepreneurs and for the companies, and we are getting there. I think we are getting to a point in which space is becoming profitable in most of their stages. It's still hard. Space is hard. Everybody knows that, right? But it's been the case that now we are becoming more and more efficient in most of the layers I can see, and when every time the smart money, how that works is every time the venture capitalists and investors realize a new industry is becoming profitable and they expect higher than above returns investing in that specific industry or sector, they take care of that. They create new funds, they create new VC firms, they create new investment vehicles that they put together to invest, to find new ways to invest in this industry. So that's going to happen in the coming 5 years, I think. As several I can see several trends converging in a single point. The consolidation of the industry is the main trend in space, and as part of that, you'll see increasing profitability across the industry. So attracted by that profitability, you'll see new funds, you'll see new VCs and new private equity firms investing heavily in the industry. You'll see space agencies putting more money into play as well. You'll see more entrepreneurship. So that's going upwards. I think that's happening, and some of the companies will be impacted by this. I don't believe it's enough space, for lack of a better word, for everyone, right? So some of the companies will be profitable, some other, will be filing for bankruptcy, unfortunately, right? But I can see the sector going upwards and becoming more and more efficient, and that's going to attract a ton of money.
But this great churn will benefit the users the most, and the most agile, the most innovative, the most adaptive companies will stay for the longer haul.
Absolutely, and the end customers will have more tools available to them, and they will have access to higher frequency and higher accuracy data. And as we were discussing before, that will converge into or lead us to a data economy in the space. Space will be part of that, larger data economy we are walking towards. So yeah, I can see that happening as well.
And then from data economy, we can move towards a knowledge economy, a knowledge that is disseminated equally. We can reach eventually towards that stage.
I think that's going to be a product of all these innovation, right? Of course, one of the cool things or positive things about space is that it's being accessible to everyone. It's being, I don't want to say democratized, because too many people are using that term, right? But yeah, that's true.
Politically loaded.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Google Maps is the best example of that. All of us are using Google Maps without realizing that the different layers that we see there is satellite imagery, very high resolution satellite imagery that some companies needed to put a lot of money and a ton of effort and technology innovation working together to produce those pictures for us, and we take that for granted, right? So that's the magic and the beauty of this industry, that if you do things right, the end customer is not gonna even realize he's using space imagery or space data. And that's going to be translated to other industries or sectors, the private industry, the public markets. Everything's going to be floated by space data in the future. I can see that being a possibility. And the cool thing about that is that we won't even realize. It's going to be so well designed, and it's going to be so accessible and so affordable that it's going to be just another tool, and it's going to be efficient.
It will be everywhere, but still it will be like imperceptible. So it will
Exactly.
be weaved into our lives.
Exactly. That's going to be the case. I think that was the case for every single industry. We take for granted so many technologies nowadays, and we don't stop and think what had to happen some decades ago for us to enjoy these various technologies. So I think space is just another case.
That's very well said, Ater. And before we wrap up, I would like to ask you, what is the future vision of Satlantis USA?
Good that you asked, right? So the so we have 3 satellites operating right now, and we are finding new customers for those systems. We are you know we are producing new technology for methane detection, for the other gases detection. uh, we can see all these customers being super excited about what we are doing, and if everything goes well, by the end of this year we'll launch our 4th satellite. It's going to be a new generation satellite with new potential capabilities, 2 sensors, binocular sensors on board, producing higher resolution data, and we'll have more frequency available for our customers. And in the coming year we'll be launching a 5th satellite. So slowly increasing the constellation, putting our technology in the hands of our customers, and making space more available and more accessible, as we were discussing earlier, right? I think it's a huge problem. The climate change and the GHG emissions to the atmosphere is a huge problem. And if we can produce some innovative technology to combat that, and to help or support solving that issue, we are super glad we can do that.
All the very best for your future launches and for your customer focused solutions, Ater. And thank you so
Thank you.
much for your time, patience, and very insightful and thought provoking pointers. So
Thank you very
I
much,
wanna
Ali.
thank you so much, and it was great talking to you.
Great discussion.
Have a great day ahead.
Like
Hello and welcome to the GW Bulletin, the daily dose of geospatial news on GW Prime Live. I am Jeffy Jacob, and here are the latest happenings. SES is to acquire rival satellite operator Intelsat for $3.1 billion, a deal that would bring together two of the major GEO satellite operators in a market facing increased competition from LEO constellations. The companies announced that they had agreed on the deal subject to regulatory approvals. The combined company would have about $4.1 billion in annual revenue. The combined company will remain headquartered in Luxembourg, where SES is based, but will maintain a significant presence at Intelsat's home in the Washington, D.C. area. Hexagon's Manufacturing Intelligence division announces a strategic partnership with Microsoft, which aims to redefine how engineers collaborate and enable the discrete manufacturing industry to innovate faster, with more confidence, and with new solutions that combine data from virtual engineering processes with real-world measurement of manufactured products. The collaboration will offer solutions that use modern cloud infrastructure to connect manufacturing and engineering systems, including Microsoft 365, in Hexagon's Nexus digital reality platform for manufacturers, and help employees increase their productivity through cloud-accelerated simulation and AI. Airbus has launched the Pleiades Neo Next program to expand its very high-resolution Earth observation constellation. This new program will result in new satellite assets and capabilities, including enhanced native resolution. As the first step of Pleiades Neo Next, Airbus is developing a new satellite which will be launched in the next few years. Finnish startup Kuva Space will provide hyperspectral data to the European Space Agency under a 1.93 million contract announced April 29. Kuva Space will develop onboard data processing and rapid communications links to support Finnish government agencies focused on border security, wildfires, and landslides. The 3 years research and development program will culminate with Kuva Space rapidly delivering hyperspectral data to detect illegal activities along the Baltic Sea area between Finland, Estonia, and Sweden, according to news release. United Arab Emirates capital Abu Dhabi has entered a multilateral agreement for inter-emirate air taxi services. The MOU, signed with 3 Abu Dhabi government departments, identifies support for establishing and scaling Joby Aviation's air taxi service in Abu Dhabi and beyond. Agreement covers the potential to develop a full air taxi ecosystem, including training, infrastructure development, and flight operations, as well as a manufacturing presence in Abu Dhabi. The IGAD Climate Prediction and Applications Center took a significant stride towards bolstering disaster preparedness and response capabilities. The center announced the reception of support from the United Nations World Food Programme for the implementation of a pioneering project titled Strengthening Early Warning Systems for Anticipatory Actions. This initiative, aimed at leveraging machine learning to enhance early warning information system, marks a collaborative effort involving leading weather and climate research institutions, a university, and a humanitarian organization. Microsoft will invest $1.7 billion over the next 4 years in new cloud and artificial intelligence infrastructure in Indonesia, the single largest investment in Microsoft's 29-year history in the country, said Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella. Microsoft runs one of the world's largest cloud computing operations and has taken a significant step into artificial intelligence by incorporating an AI chatbot into its search engine, Bing. Its earnings report Thursday said profit rose 20% for the January-March quarter as it tries to position itself as a leader in applying artificial intelligence technology to make workplaces more productive. Spire Global, a global provider of space-based data, analytics, and space services, has entered into a multi-million-dollar deal with an unnamed financial firm. The company will provide its high-resolution weather forecast model, which offers a 6-day outlook powered by proprietary data collected from space and developed into an AI-powered model for long-range forecasting. Through this deal, Spire will build off its recent collaboration with NVIDIA to leverage Earth-2 NVIDIA's platform for weather and climate change modeling, and to train and run AI weather models. These models are projected to increase the accuracy of weather forecasts and produce long-range probabilistic forecasts at unprecedented speeds. The E-Plane company, a Chennai-based startup incubated at Indian Institute of Technology, Madras, anticipating unveiling a certifiable prototype of a flying electric taxi, alongside commercializing drones for various payloads. This endeavor aligns with Interglobe Enterprises and Archer Aviation's plan to introduce an all-electric air taxi service in India by the year 2026, promising swift intra-city travel. With regulatory frameworks evolving and technological advancements driving innovation, these initiatives herald a transformative shift in urban mobility, offering exciting prospects for the future. And with that, we come to the end of the live bulletin. See you tomorrow with more news from the geospatial ecosystem around the world. Have a great evening.